Hello, everybody. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. We're going to wait just another minute or two to make sure everybody that wants to join is on. All right, I'm gonna get started here. I want to introduce myself. My name is Joshua Langan. I work for the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development. You're here today to see the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund program overview. I have everybody muted for now, just so we don't end up with a bunch of conversation. I'm pretty sure this chat is going to work here. Um, I'm going to just do a test chat in there. Hopefully everybody can see that. So somebody, we're going to try and go through this and maybe not stop it too many times. So if somebody is just definitely confused and needs to stop, feel free to put it in the chat. I'll unmute you.
Josh, actually, sorry. We're directing any questions to the Q&A function through Zoom. So there's a box at the bottom of the screen that you can enter your questions in, and somebody will respond to them at the end of the meeting. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. That was David with better instructions than what I just gave. So I'll go ahead and rescind those instructions. And anyway, hopefully everybody can hear me. And to start the presentation, we'll be joined by another team member here, and I'll get a chance to introduce him. Let me. Here's the main team over here. We have two people from the city. Joshua's son. He is the program administrator. I'm Joshua Langan. I assist with the program. Then we have two people from Summer Corps. They're a contract program administrator. We have Ruben Waddy, Kel Hadfield. Ruben Waddy will be joining us here in about 15 minutes. And we look forward to him. So basically, we're just going to kind of go through what is NOF, what do we do before applying, what's the process, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. NOF program overview. So this was launched in 2016. The idea is to, increase the vibrancy of our commercial corridors, south, southwest, and west sides. It's a reimbursement, grant, and technical assistance program. It's basically made for renovation and physical restoration of buildings. There's a number of goals. We want to invest in the community. We want to promote strong neighborhoods with a lot of amenities in them. We're mostly looking for commercial uses. Anything that can be a catalyst. And if you can imagine sort of walking around your neighborhood, what would you kind of like to see? That's what we kind of want to like to see. We want to ensure the investments are complementary, like I just said, and we like to see community wealth being put to use and community investment to happen. The Neighborhood Opportunity Fund or bonus is a fund that is put together whenever developers say they want to build a project downtown that requires more floor area ratio or more height or more density than what's allowed. They can pay a special fee that goes into this fund. That fund is then distributed mostly to the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. And that includes mostly our program, but also there's another Neighborhood Opportunity Fund that funds larger projects that we're not going to talk about today. Then there's a Adopt a Landmark Fund and then a Local Impact Fund. So that's kind of where the money is coming from, and that's how this grant program is funded. So since 2016, we've completed 115 projects, 31 community areas, 22 wards. Here's a quick example of a medium-sized project, and we'll get into what the funding range really is on these things. This is a good example with the facade restoration. We like to see facades because we like to see that impact on the streets. I think it looks good. Here's sort of at the top end of our grant. This is both, this is an interior build out in a new shell. So even if it doesn't need exterior renovation, we can do community or rather restaurant build outs and that sort of thing. It's a very nice project. So who are the parties here? So I'm with the Planning and Development Department with the City of Chicago, and we work with finalists and grant recipients, and I'll sort of explain the difference between that a little bit later. We have finalists, grantees, and then we have alumni and that sort of thing. Summer Corps is a contract program administrator. They do a lot of the day-to-day stuff. You'll be submitting paperwork to Summer Corps. They'll be sending you instructions. They'll be getting you paid. So that they're key player to this program. Technical Assistance Fund. This is going to be sort of architectural support and program or project management support. And when this says what's new in 2025, this is new because it used to come out of your construction funds. It no longer comes out of your construction funds. So if you get a grant, you can get up to 20% of that grant on top of the grant to hire a project manager, a construction manager, a little bit of architectural support as you go through. So we didn't want that to take away from people's construction money. Increased coverage, it used to be 50% plus a couple of bonuses. Now we just do 75% with no real bonuses. That's just a pretty straightforward way that we fund projects. Something new called a loan loss reserve, and that's going to be if your project is a good project, but your financing isn't quite where it needs to be, we have the ability to put you in contact with a CDFI that can help some of these applicants just get your funding shored up and get that straight. So what is the NOF? A little bit more detail on this program. So as I kind of mentioned, you're looking at 75% of total project cost. Your portion would be 25%. And then there's that 20% technical assistance tacked on to the end of that. The grant itself maximum is $250,000, and that extra tack on can be up to $50,000 depending on how the percentages work out for you. A little bit more about calculation. Your base grant is calculated from your project eligible expenses, identified by DPD and the program administrator Summer Corps. It's not going to exceed 75% of total eligible project costs, or 250,000, whichever is less. I think the key word here is the word eligible. You may have some stuff that's necessary to the project, but stuff we won't fund. An example would be, certain types of equipment like a dishwasher or something that can really kind of move away from the property or something like that. We are really looking for building renovations or stuff that is physically fixed to the building, such as HVAC. Even kitchen hoods are really fixed to the building. So keep in mind the word eligible. Acquisition coverage, there is a way to credit some of this towards acquisition. And it's a longer discussion as to how that actually works, but it is possible. It's not going to be just pure like, hey, here's 250,000, go buy some land. It's going to be a percentage of construction or even rehab. So again, I talked about the Technical Assistance Fund. That's just a great way to get grantees in front of project or construction managers and architects. Let's see any notes down there. Yeah, that's a good note. These grants are all accessed through reimbursement or an escrow agreement, and we'll get into that here in a second. After an NOF conditional award letter, and I will get into when that occurs, but do not do a bunch of construction before you get an award letter and expect to be reimbursed. Generally, that is not done, and certainly don't do a bunch of work before you even apply and then think that that's somehow retroactive. It's not. You'll do the work after you receive your award letter, and then you'll be reimbursed in one of those two ways, either through direct reimbursement through an escrow arrangement. But we'll get into that a little bit more as well. The other part of that note is there is going to be some preliminary activities. That's part of your application. You're going to have some bids. You're going to have an architect. So before your award letter, there may be a little bit more architecture that needs to be done. So there may be some expenses, but they're generally going to be in the technical assistance side, more so than, let's say, the construction side before your award letter. There's a graphic that sort of explains the difference between reimbursement and construction escrow. Reimbursement, you really kind of need to have 100% of your funding lined up and ready to go. You want to, after the construction of whatever phase you're doing is done, you'll submit receipts and cancel checks and stuff, and you'll be reimbursed. Generally, we look at 3 stages. We do like you to have 100% of your financing ready to go, because it may just be a one and done situation. Some applicants or grantees will do, say, after they get rough inspections, they'll ask for reimbursement. After they get final inspections, and then finally, when they get their certificate of occupancy and their business license straight, then they'll get their 3rd installment. Sometimes there's just one installment. That's just sometimes the way it happens. Construction escrow is a little different. You put your 25% in a set aside escrow fund. The city puts its 75% in, and then the contractors are paid directly out of the escrow fund. So you realistically only need that. Well, not realistically. You do need to have your 25% in there, and you should also have a contingency on hand. In case, because there's going to, cost overruns do happen and that sort of thing. So that's just sort of the 2 different ways that these projects are paid for. So how do we apply? You can see the eligible corridors, and if you go to the NOF website, there's a little tool. You'll click on the tool, you type in your address, you'll click on the address, and then it'll zoom you in and tell you whether you're eligible or not eligible. And if you're on a priority corridor versus eligible, priority corridors generally get a little bit more points during the application phase. So just so you sort of know the difference. So eligibility, we briefly touched on this. Commercial properties, everything you might imagine, office, retail, even part of a mixed use building. Just the exterior, like for instance, say you have a commercial storefront on the bottom and you have an apartment on top. You obviously don't want to just replace the bricks, their facade on the commercial, and leave the residential. It's going to look weird. We will let you to go ahead and extend the masonry work and a little bit other exterior stuff. Cultural institutions, we have those, museums, theaters, performance venues. Those are eligible. Nonprofit organizations, we have some of those, but you'll see some exceptions here in a second. And then we have light manufacturing, where basically you're doing a little bit of light assembly, but you have a commercial component to that, like your storefront, like somebody can come in and buy something maybe made in the back room. Screen printing might be a good example of that. Ineligible, pure residential, we don't do, and we don't do the interiors of the mixed use on the residential part. Social services, we don't do workforce development. We don't do daycare. There's a lot of licensing and stuff that we just don't want to get involved with. Places of worship, we don't do churches. Industrial and heavy manufacturing, we don't do that either. It's got to be the smaller artisanal type with a commercial storefront. Eligible expenses, roofing, facade, minor site improvements. You really don't want to get off of your property with this grant program, because then you start getting into right of way, you start getting into easements. And you really want to keep your improvements on your property. Minor side improvement would probably be repaving of your parking lot. Building demolition, environmental remediation. We don't get a lot of that, but it is possible. Security measures, that'd be fencing, that sort of thing. Mechanical systems, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, architectural, engineering fees. Ineligible. That's a $5,000 painting or $10,000 painting. That's not part of a larger project. That's probably not what we're looking for. We want for something more substantial. Construction, rehab, residential units. I already mentioned that. Repairs or improvements to bring a building into compliance with City of Chicago's building code that are not part of the larger project. So what we don't want to see is a building that has massive historical issues and problems, and then you just use this grant to fix your problems, then that's it. We're looking to refresh the building to bring its use to the next level or to bring a new use to that building. If there happens to be a few building code violations that are fixed as part of the larger project, that's really more what we're looking for. And then operating expenses. Yeah, this is not that kind of grant. We're not looking to train workforce or, buy inventory or anything like that. Here's a smaller grant, 44,000. They just did a nice job and refreshed their facade. Looks great. Here's a even smaller one, 10,000 bucks, so very small. Again, just a quick refresh on the sign, and they painted the door. And that was kind of about it. There might have been a little bit of interior work on this, but there was some physical aspect to this. It wasn't just painting. There was some actual masonry, a little bit of that work done on the entrance. Kind of what you need to gather and get going before you even apply. Summer Corps, they have some great resources. You can go to their website and they have toolkit topics to talk about. You're going to be using something called Submittable. That's a application platform. They'll have you kind of walk through that. They'll talk about the sources and uses table, sort of funding and how you're going to spend it. Talk to you about how you can prove you're actually lease or own the site or both, construction bids and stuff like that. There's a bunch of people out there that can help you. This is a list that's been compiled that Summer Corps works with. They can help you with all sorts of stuff to find funding, to help you fill out the application, anything like that. To help you work on your business plan, that's a key one when you're applying as well. Again, you can find these under resources in the NOF, Chicago.gov/NOF. There's some other grants and programs in the department that could help you as well. Workforce Solutions. Once you're up and running, you can apply for this and maybe get some of your employees some skilled training, reimbursement for skilled training you're putting them through. I mentioned community development grants. They're small, medium, and large. It looks like your program your project is honestly just too big for this project. Like if $250,000 is sort of a drop in the bucket, and you're looking at multi-million-dollar, you might want to use another project or another grant fund. Small Business Improvement Fund. They're somewhat similar to NOF. You got to be in a TIF district, and it does do physical renovations. Not quite the same grant amount, but this is just an example of some other resources that the city offers. All right, so when we get to actually applying, applications accepted on a rolling basis. Apply anytime. It's great. We evaluate them quarterly. Next one will be November 14th. That will be the evaluation for that round. So if you apply on the 15th, you'll have to wait till early 26 or something like that. Again, you can submit at any time. It's completely offline. You don't have to mail a bunch of stuff or anything like that. You'll have to create your account on Submittable. Again, Summer Corps got great resources on what to expect when you do this. You can save stuff as drafts and come back as later. You don't have to do it all in one sitting. And then, there's ability to upload some documentation. Mistakes. required materials missing. Things like, yeah, if you have a lease, please include your lease. If you have a loan statement, and make sure that lease is signed. So, uh, it, we realize it's a lot, mistakes happen, but try to get your materials in there. Your loan statement, the loan declaration, make sure that's in there. Um, since there's a rolling application period, there's really no rush. Make sure you get some good bids and talk to some contractors and talk to your bank, talk to everybody you need to talk to, and get this together. And then, there's some questions in there, like, what impact do you think this is going to have on the community? Go ahead and take your time and answer the questions. We do read them, and we do want to hear, the spirit behind your project. All right, so let's go through the process. Applications are valued on project readiness and project realization. Project readiness, you got to demonstrate site control. It's got to be a financially feasible project. We do want to see some construction cost estimates, some detailed business descriptions. That would be a good business plan, and make sure your business plan has maybe some 5 years projections in it, and it really does fly directly to your project and is not a generic business plan. And also, there'll be opportunity to provide letters of support and other ways to demonstrate positive community impact. So if you're selected as a finalist, you'll have 21 days to get some legal documentation together. Scofflaw investigation, debt search, that sort of thing. Stage 2, that's when you're getting, if you need additional construction bids, you'll have to get those. We want permit ready, architectural drawings. And then if all that's approved, then you'll receive your conditional award letter that I talked about earlier. Like, don't do any construction before you get this letter. That you'll be called an awardee. So again, you go from finalist to awardee, or grantee. Either one's acceptable. Proof of financing, stage 3 is proof of financing, proof of permit, construction completion. So it may sound weird that proof of financing comes after your additional award letter, but during the application, we've pretty much vetted whether you have substantial financing or not, whether you need to see the CDFI or not. And then we do allow you to, once you know exactly what this is going to cost, because you'll be getting more bids. Once you get some better bids, you'll know exactly what you're going to cost. And then you can go to your bank and say, all right, my initial estimates may have been this, but this is exactly what's going to happen. And then the bank will go, all right, we can work with this, and we'll let you firm up your financing 120 days after that. Stage 4, and then of course you'll need to get your permit and actually do the construction. Stage 4, after your final payments for reimbursements, there's going to be some wrap-up documentation, and then finally, you'll get a certificate of completion, and you'll be transitioned from grantee status to alumni status. You'll be a program alumni. I went through this pretty quick. So here's another example of a really nice renovation. This is 205,000, so almost towards the top. Before and after. Magnolia screen printing. Yeah, this is a good project. They have actual screen printing machinery throughout, but they take orders, and you can walk in and you can buy stuff. And so, yeah, it's manufacturing, but it's community-based, artisan-based manufacturing in the neighborhood that can go in, commercial zoning as well. So again, application evaluation is November the 14th. We'll try to announce that as soon as we can, but it will likely be early 2026, the finalists. Applications all done through Submittable. Go ahead and work with those community partners. Go to the NOF website and find those resources and work with them. Because they've been doing this and they've seen it all. They've seen it, and they'll know, what's a strong application, what to put in, what to leave out, who you need to talk to, and that sort of thing. So feel free to do that. Summer Corps did not join us today, I don't think. So that's okay. You can go to their website and you'll find contact information there if you have some questions like that. So, David, did you say we are going to have any sort of Q&A today, or is that something that happens afterwards?
We've no, yeah, we've got a couple already in the Q&A box. As mentioned, if anyone is just joining us or missed it earlier, if you've got any questions, you can submit it through the Q&A function in Zoom. There's a box at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, we've got two questions in right now. The first one asks, what happens if a project comes in under budget? How is money handled in that situation?
Well, depends. I mean, if you're going through the reimbursement route, and say your first reimbursement after um, the rough inspections, you'll get reimbursed for that. And then second one, you'll get reimbursed. And your third one, if you're like, wow, we're kind of already done here, you'll just reimburse less money. So you'll just it'll still be 75% of total project costs. So we'll just recalculate the numbers and say, well, 75% of 200,000 instead of 250,000 is, what we're going to be reimbursing you 75% of that. The other way is through project escrow. And if there's any money left in an escrow, it'll simply be refunded. All right, David, what's our next question?
All right, we got a couple of different eligibility questions.
Uh-huh.
The first one is asking, do urban farms qualify for NOF? And this is a business with no permanent buildings, only temporary structures.
I would say submit. Usually we do like to see some sort of a structure. Um, but it might be possible depending on where it is and how it sort of interacts with the community. And if there's like maybe a youth program associated with it, that's a tricky one. I can't really give you a straight yes or no on that. Obviously, if you're having a little structure that goes with it, I think that helps. But it's I would say apply it and let us look at it.
Gotcha. And then the next question is coming from someone who says that they've got a workforce development nonprofit that has a cafe as a on-site social enterprise, and they were curious about their eligibility.
I think so. We've done cafes in like museums and other different nonprofit organizations. I think it would be, yeah, we probably wouldn't want to do the office part of the workforce development project, but the cafe part, I mean, if you have people coming in and coming off the street and it's liveling up street corners selling coffee, yeah, I think that'd be eligible. But again, apply and kind of let us take a look at the details.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, those are all right. We've
A
got
couple more. Okay,
yep,
no
couple
problem.
more. There's another question about similar question, actually, a community center with a cafe. They're asking, does it have to be a pre-existing structure because they've got a lot but no structure currently?
We do new construction. I mean, this if you're going to build a community center and a cafe, that's a big project. You might end up as a project maybe a little bit too big for this program, but yeah, we do new construction, community centers, we do those, cafes, we do those. Yeah, so depend. Yeah, it sounds like a bigger project, but maybe not. It might be possible with our program.
And then just a question about like what the definition of workforce development organization is in terms of, non-eligibility. It seems like someone's trying to figure out what the kind of threshold is for their for workforce development organization to be named.
Yeah, it that's a little tricky as well. We do have, like, say, kitchens that will train chefs. We do have projects that, as part of the project, they are developing skills for people to go out on their own. We have an aspect of that. Usually the main primary focus is something else other than just getting people ready for skills. Um, like we have, projects where maker spaces, projects where it's basically a workshop and people can come in, rent space and maybe get some skills training there. So I would say, again, go ahead and apply. If it's not just straight up workforce, then, who there might be a chance for eligibility there, but it's kind of hard to say without specifics.
Gotcha. And then there's a question for someone who's doing like a new construction thing. Do they need to have like all of their zoning and everything already like sorted out and cleared for their property before applying, or what's the kind of I guess how many ducks in a row do they have to have lined up for a new construction project to
Well, I would say new construction or redevelopment or anything, zoning, absolutely. Zoning cases can take a long time. You don't want to be caught with some deadline situation because you're waiting on your zoning. But the word etc. there, um, you likely won't have your building permit yet, and that's going to happen after you get your award letter. Inspections. So the word etc. is there's a lot of stuff like your business license, and the other licenses. Like it's not just building permit. It's the ACP has got licensing, um, mayor's office of disability, and other things like that. So there are a lot of there's a lot of regulations you're going to be meeting as part of this process. But yeah, right out the gate, you want to be in the right zoning. So yeah.
All right. Well, we hit a kind of stopping point for questions. If anyone has anything else, get those in before we call it. But yeah, and anything else you wanted to go over, or any other kind of.
Well, I mean, it's a lot. Um, David, will this recording be available?
Yes, absolutely. We will be posting this to the DPD YouTube page this week, and also it should be going up on the on DPD's NOF website. Um,
Okay, so feel free to watch this video again. There's going to be all right. Somebody asked to see the map again. Um, yeah, it's mostly south and west sides, as you'll see. And these corridors were carefully selected by our planning team years ago to make sure we're capturing commercial corridors and not necessarily like school corridors or residential corridors or anything like that. So it's basically what you would expect: good, high density commercial corridors where we can make a difference. Uh,
Got one more question that
yeah,
came. How long is the typical business plan?
I would say just the more the merrier. I mean, I would say a minimum 5 to 10 pages. These can easily get it into 20 or more. You want to talk about not only how are you going to, I think talking about how you were going to fund this construction and how still have left money left over is going to be very important. And you're going to want to do research to see if there's any competitors around, if there's any complementary businesses around. And like I said, 5 year um, revenue and expenses would be good as well. That's one we seem to be missing a lot of times, and one reason we'll ask it's people to reapply or something like that is because they've got a 1 year projection. Well, 1 year doesn't tell you much, especially if you do it right. I mean, you have any other loans on, say, your equipment or something like that. You're going to want to know how you're going to pay that equipment off and still keep the doors open. So I'd say just the more detailed, the better on your business plan.
All right, seeing no other questions, I think we might be in a place where we can wrap this up.
I just want to make sure I've got that contact slide up just as we wrap up. Right. So an email, good email would be nof@cityofchicago.org. A couple of people have access to that. So that's a good quick email. You don't even have to go search Chicago.gov.nof or summer board. You can just directly email nof@cityofchicago.org and somebody will get back to you. So yeah, thanks for your help, David.
No
And
problem.
thanks everyone for joining. Hope this was informative and we look forward to your applications.
Thanks again, everyone.